I also feel like, when you're when anyone is teaching in universities,
Yeah.
the students, I mean, we were at some point also in the university, and especially before the third year, or even sometimes in the fourth year, like your last year, you're always focused on like a project. It's
Yeah.
never your own artistic practice. I mean, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, for personally, I was always thinking about my own individual personal concern so that I could carry out after I graduate as well. But a lot of my colleagues and a lot of students, even today, don't think like that. They think of it as a project that they have to finish, and then they're going to start another project and perhaps categorize it as their concern or artist practice or a topic of their artist practice, which I
Yeah.
think is very problematic. Because if you, as an artist, I guess you just have a concern, and that concern organically grows and develops and goes through different mediums and gives you different visuals or whatever your medium is. So it has its own life in a way. But if it's a project and you feel like it's going to end, then it actually does end. And then
Yeah.
if you try to revive it, it won't, because it was never your genuine concern. It was just a
Yeah.
project.
Mm.
So I think as an instructor, I always mostly most students found that problem,
Yeah.
but they're also not at the level to understand this.
Mm.
Even I understood the concept of unlearning very late. But
Yeah.
I was always told by my instructors that you need to learn how to unlearn things. And I always thought that what kind of a stupid rubbish idea is that? Why would you teach me something if you had to 2 years later tell me that, okay, now forget about it? I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of absurd. But now I guess after some sort of experience and exposure with different people, I understand that very well. So I guess it also takes a lot of maturity to
It,
understand and to define that line between a project and your own artistic practice, and how much you want the other people around you to influence it.
something that I kind of still struggle with at this stage as well. But I think that's coming from a place where I feel like I have too many concerns as an artist. And like, I'm still struggling with how to connect all those concerns into sort of like one, defined trajectory, because it's here and there and all over the place.
Yeah.
But just to expand a little bit on unlearning, I think I still don't fully understand the concept of unlearning. I think there is relearning, but just I just like for a second, if we think about it, how do you unlearn? I mean, I do get the point that when you've learned something, you're like, okay, maybe this doesn't work, so maybe I should take this other direction, but you've already learned it. It's still there somewhere. You can actively try to disconnect from it, I think, but it's always going to be there, whatever you've learned.
Mhm.
I personally feel like when they say unlearn, they don't really mean that forget about it. And
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an example very much related to my own medium. I don't know if you can
Hmm.
understand it or not. Like, for example, if you want to paint a tree, so there's a particular brush which comes with like that bristle with a
Fan
whole
Yeah,
brush.
yeah,
fan brush.
yeah.
Okay.
The fan brush,
So,
yeah.
so it's very easy to kind of dab it in paint and do this, and it'll form a tree for you. So this is
Yeah,
a technique that we have learned. But at the same time, this is also a formula. This is a pattern that you're
yeah,
creating. This is not
yeah,
observation. So it takes you a lot of time to understand that if you are just dabbing it here and there, you're not really present while working. You just know
yeah,
that I'm going to do that 4 times and it's going to form a tree. But if you pick up a tree and you're sitting in front of it and then you're drawing each and every outline by looking at it, then you are
yeah.
challenging the fan brush and the
Right.
concept of that fan brush and the
Yeah, yeah.
existence of that fan brush altogether. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean
Right.
that it's not going to contribute in your work. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how I kind of perceive it through my own
No,
medium.
I think it makes perfect sense. Yeah, it does. It does make a lot of sense. Yes.
So I guess you have to find your own sort of unlearning in your own medium, in your own arena, in
Mhm.
your own practice. I guess it's very
Yeah,
subjective to everybody.
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
And I think another aspect of unlearning also kind of comes from the realization that you don't necessarily need to have like one pathway when you follow your art practice.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I realize, like, especially if like I'm having a portfolio review, or like even when I'm compiling my portfolio, I realize that my work is one, like a sing if I have 12 works in line, they're all very, very different from each other. And
Yeah.
maybe an outsider would not be able to tell if it's from the same artist. And I think earlier on I used to think that that was a problem, but now, using the same factor of unlearning, I'm trying to, settle on the fact that it is done by one person, regardless of, the different time or the different kind of mindset that we're in. It's still done by the
Yeah.
same person. And I think that also is kind of unlearning to some extent.